In 2014, Mike Trout experienced probably the worst complete season of his major league career. In seasons where he played 115 plus games, his OPS ranked 8th, his home runs ranked 5th, and his OPS plus ranked 7th. He only stole 16 bases and was worth negative 0.7 WAR defensively. That year, he was the recipient of the Most Valuable Player award. We gotta talk about Mike Trout. In what was one of his worst statistical full seasons, he was still the best across the American League, topping 2014's batch of candidates Victor Martinez, Michael Brantley, and eventual 2020 MVP winner, Jose Abreu. It's wild to imagine that a guy that was practically the worst nightmare of every major league pitcher for the entirety of the 2010s is now an afterthought in an MLB landscape that is being dominated by a guy just a year younger than him. And when I say most, I mean it. Not many saw this coming. A guy who could have become the greatest player in the league's history, reduced to a measly 13.8 WAR over his last 5 seasons, which is just around 2.76 WAR per season. That per year total is about the same as Myles Straw's 2022 campaign, where he notched 2.7 WAR. Now, I'm not saying these two players are comparable in any way, but it's crazy that Trout was practically matched by a guy who has a career OPS of 626. What did Trout in was pretty simple: injuries. He was on a trajectory to become one of, if not the greatest player of all time, and got smacked with a consistent case of the injury bug. We're going to investigate this quote-unquote injury bug further later in this video, but first, Mike Trout's greatness deserves more of our attention. He was never one to chase home run records like Aaron Judge, compete for the batting title like Ichiro, or steal bases like Elly De La Cruz can. He was just way above average at everything he did. A true 5-tool player. Okay, his defense did have some shortcomings at times, but if there's someone I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt to, it's Trout. He's someone I would refer to as something of a StatCast king. Let's just admire this 2018 StatCast report on Trout. I mean, what is there to say? He was above average at literally everything, and the only things he wasn't 85th percentile or higher in were K percentage and whiff rate. When stacked up against his peers in the league, he was a wrecking ball, a guy that couldn't be stopped. From 2012 to 2020, Trout won a Silver Slugger in 8 of those 9 seasons, and the only year he didn't win, 2017, he had a 1.71 OPS. But to be the greatest player of all time, you not only have to be better than the guys you play against, but also every player that has ever stepped foot on a major league field, from the early 1900s all the way up to this year, 2025. A quick note before we start, I'm going to be completely disqualifying pitchers from this discussion because I personally believe baseball has 2 greatest of all time players, a pitching GOAT and a positional GOAT. And I mean, the pitching GOAT is already decided. It's obviously Tim Keefe with his 293 ERA plus season in 1880. Before we dive in though, 99% of my viewers are not subscribed, so consider hitting the subscribe button if you're enjoying the video. Now, it's quite tough to determine who the definitive greatest position player of all time is. That's probably why it's a debate as old as time that most likely will never be solved. Well, Ohtani might solve it in the near future, but for us right now, he's irrelevant. Major League Baseball doesn't have their own version of a Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky, if you didn't know, was an NHL player from the late 70s to the late 90s that rendered the hockey GOAT debate moot, as he retired with over 60 career records, including points, goals, not anymore, and assists. But the records across baseball are much more evenly divided. Barry Bonds leads in home runs, Babe Ruth leads in OPS and OPS+, and Henry Aaron leads in total bases. Now, I hand-selected a few of the top contenders in the long-standing GOAT debate and threw them up against Trout with their career numbers after their age 27 season. Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Barry Bonds, Willie Mays, and Henry Aaron. Now, as expected, since he's probably the most popular candidate for the GOAT debate, Babe Ruth leads in all rate statistics. So batting average, on-base percentage, OPS, all go to him along with OPS+. Mantle led in games played and plate appearances, not the flashiest of stats. Bonds led in stolen bases, and Aaron led in hits and RBIs. Willie Mays led in no categories, which is unsurprising because he really hit his prime on the other side of his age 30 campaign. Which leaves Trout, who, in this make-believe land of MLB greats, led in home runs and WAR. This makes sense for Trout because once again, he's not a guy that will kill you in just one facet of the game. He'll kill you in all facets of the game. So the fact that WAR accounts for every side of the baseball works perfectly for Trout. Now, this hard-hitting analysis does not prove that Trout is or was on pace to be the greatest player of all time, but he had a distinctive chance. WAR, as much as I use it, is not an end-all be-all for baseball excellence, but but this does show us, when put up against the giants of this league's history, he can hold his own. He was even second in OPS and OPS plus behind Ruth. I just want to add that Bonds didn't lead in many stats because he was a late bloomer, if you know what I mean. Now the cutoff being each player's age 27 campaign was incredibly purposeful, as this was around the time this injury bug came to visit. Okay, to be honest, he did play one more full season after age 27, but that was the COVID season, so it would have thrown off a bunch of stats due to the fact he can only play 60 games. But just that next season, the bug came knocking, and it didn't just knock. It tore Trout's proverbial house down. Early into May of 2021, Trout was once again frying the league alive, boasting a stat line that could rival video game numbers. With a slash line of 466 on base, 624 slugging, and a 1.90 OPS, he showed no signs of slowing down. Then, on the 17th of that month, while playing against the Cleveland Guardians, Trout went down with injury. On the literal definition of a nothing play, where Jared Walsh popped out to the third baseman to end the inning, Trout, who was on second base, strained his calf running from second to third. Just brutal luck, really. He was given a 6 to 8 week timeline, but experienced multiple setbacks that pushed his return to September. By then, as is most years, the Angels were out of the playoff race, so the organization and Trout agreed to shut down his season. 36 games played across 2021. 2022 was better for him, but not ideal. After starting relatively slow by Trout's standards with only a 968 OPS by July 15th, Trout visited the injured list with back inflammation. This time around though, it did not consume his whole season, and he returned on August 10th, and rocked out a 1.56 OPS from his return to the end of the season. 119 games played in 2022. That next season, Trout broke a bone in his wrist in July while already having arguably his worst career season outside of his rookie year, as he had a sub 850 OPS. He attempted a return in August to help the Angels push to the playoffs, but only played one game before shutting it down, going 1 for 4. 82 games played across 2023. And 2024 was probably the worst out of all of them. Trout reportedly tore his meniscus in late April as he went down on the 29th while already posting another lackluster OPS number in comparison to earlier years with an 867 OPS. He was eyeing a quick return though, and after rehabbing the injury he went to AAA to get it going again, and he exited in his first at-bat back with knee soreness. Diagnostics later confirmed he tore his meniscus once again, ending his season. 29 games played across 2024. This current season, he's already missed 26 of the Angels' 56 games played so far with a bone bruise. Out of his last 4 complete seasons, I'm leaving this year out because it's still ongoing, he's missed 342 of his team's games, around 60%. Now he was still Mike Goddamn Trout, as he registered a 951 OPS over that time. I tricked you guys at the beginning of the video when I compared his last 5 seasons to the 2022 season of Miles Straw, because while Trout was still elite, he didn't provide the longevity to register solid WAR. He was still good, but his peers mightily outclassed him while he struggled. Out of our group of greats earlier, Bonds, Aaron, Mays, Mantle, and Ruth, they averaged 33.12 WAR, 152 home runs, and a 180 OPS plus each over their age 29 to age 32 season. That same stretch where Trout played in only 40% of his team's games. During that same stretch, Trout only accumulated 12 WAR, 76 home runs, and a 160 OPS plus. The OPS plus is still great, and I threw that in there on purpose to show while Trout lacked counting stats like WAR, home runs, and what have you, he was still his incredible self in the time he could play. Injuries really did mess up his chance, small chance I will add, to become the greatest position player in the storied history of this game. Trout wasn't the first, and won't be the last player to have their career torpedoed by injuries. Ken Griffey Jr., who is still in the GOAT conversation, battled injury heavily during his time in Cincinnati. Mickey Mantle tripped over a drain cover in the 1951 World Series when he was just 19 years old and allegedly played his whole career on a torn ACL. Now, that story is not confirmed and has been long debated, so take it with a grain of salt. And God knows how many possible Trout caliber players were hurt in the high school and college level, wiping out their whole career. But what we do know for certain is that injuries wiped out a sizable portion of Trout's illustrious career, and they continue to do so. I, like many fans across the league, just hope to see Trout dominate once again. And if you ask him, I'd bet he'd say he'd love to repeat his 2014 season, even though it was technically one of his worst. That's all I have for you today though, so thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, let me know down below what you think of Mike Trout, and check out this video if you want to see me discuss pitcher injuries in more depth. I'll see you all later.